It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity.
Hello, model citizens. Welcome to Humanity Junction. Today on Trains and Tech, I thought I would talk about something that I don't know anything about, and that's pretty much usual around here. So we'll get into that in a little bit. I have been asking questions on the internet about fouling points. I've gotten back some good data that I think gives me a plan to move forward, and we'll talk about that coming up in a moment. Of course, I seem to always have something tech related going on. I trying to get the show going, and my camera that usually shoots down over my bench was giving me all kinds of trouble. I pulled the battery out of it because it was saying low battery, and it's got a nice little bulge in it, so I think it's time to get rid of this battery. So I don't have an over the bench camera, but I did get my NDI cameras working, which is basically a wireless method of connecting the cameras. So I do have this other camera sitting here. I don't know if you can even make it out on this view, but there is another camera sitting there, and hopefully I will be able to get that one working. So we'll use that as the over the bench camera. Before we get started though, let's talk about an upcoming event. This right here is the NERX. I guess I should put the I should put the link in the chat, huh? That might be a good idea. This is the NERX event that is coming up next week. The NERX is the Northeast region of the NMRA. So March 18th through the 21st is NERX. It's so NMRAX does these weekend events. The NERX is doing some evening events. So it kicks off on Monday, March 18th. You can get a sense of some of the events, the clinics that'll be happening. There's also some roundtables as well. There's this one weird guy leading this one roundtable that is on Monday at 7:30. And you might recognize some of the people that will be joining me for that. And yes, as Mr. Estep says, it is on Facebook and YouTube, so you can watch it at either of those two different locations. So yeah, that's going on. Let's get right into my favorite section, the I Have a Problem section, where I talk about the items that I did not need, but the items that I have purchased over the previous week or so. And I thought we would start off with probably one of the more useless items that I have purchased, which is this. This is a battery mount for Ryobi batteries, and it's basically just, 3D printed parts. But what you do is the battery, or like this, gets mounted to a wall, and then the battery just slides into it and it holds it. So the reason I got it is because right now I just have the batteries sitting on a rolling cart over on the side, and it seems like every time I try and do some work in here, I knock things all over the place. So decided to get a little organized. I think they were like 20 bucks on Amazon or something of that nature. So NERX, just to go back and make sure it's clear, NERX is on the NMRA's YouTube and Facebook channels starting on Monday night. This does not charge it. This just literally holds it. I do have a battery charger, so my thought is I would mount the battery charger up top, and then I would mount, a couple of these below it. I have 4 batteries, so if I do the charger and 3 of these, then I can hold all of my batteries and keep everything nice and happy. Yeah, I don't think they make anything this small. If you have a 3D printer, I know there's some people here that have 3D printers, so you could just print it out as well yourself. I don't have a 3D printer, so but yeah, look around. You can either buy them or get them printed. I'm a fan of supporting people that are out there doing their thing, so it's gonna make my life easier. It comes with screws as well, with star head screws, so No, it's not. That's not the spelling, Dennis. It's NER as in Northeast region. X, kind of like TEDx, but not TEDx. So the next item I thought we would talk about is this right here. This is a transformer. As people know, I've got a lot of different electronics around the layout, and I currently have a 5-volt bus around the layout. This is a similar transformer, but it is a 12-volt transformer, and the switch machines that I have in the Manhattanville area of the layout require 12 volts. I'm currently just using one of these, like one of these kind of little cheap wall warts, and these are okay, but I wanted something a little more permanent for the layout, and I'll use that for those switches, and I can use it for other things around the layout as well, like powering some of my tablets and stuff that are around the layout. So you would think that would be the end of my problems, but no. No, of course. I have more problems. Andy, of course, was one of my problems this past week. I'm just kidding, Andy. Andy helped out with Manhattanville. If you are a member, you've actually seen some of the photos over at Manhattanville. You've seen some photos of Andy working on Manhattanville and some of the progress that has been going on over there. Manhattanville's been going surprisingly better than I expected it to go, and that makes me very happy. But there is still to be done, still more work to be done over there. So another item I didn't need that I bought, I was placing an order for some other stuff. And when you're placing an order and you're paying for shipping, sometimes I just end up, throwing random things in. Joey from Late Night Model Railroad, I met him when he was in the city, and we went to a hobby shop, and he bought some roof details from the hobby shop. Made me start thinking, this is probably something good to have around. It adds some nice details to the various kits. And so this purchase I can blame on Joey from Late Night Hobbies and Late Night Model Railroad, just so that I have them around. This is an item I absolutely didn't need. I actually already have. Joey says he'll take that one. So I already have this Pike Stuff engine house. If you remember last week, I was talking about the size of the engine house that I had. And it's this big old Walther's 130-foot engine house, which I just feel is a little too big for this layout. So I also have this. This is a little Outland Models engine house, which is a little bit smaller. But this guy's even smaller than that. The reason I got a second one, it does say, let's see, 4.5 inches by 2.25 inches. So my thought is, I'm going to use one of these here in this main yard, and I will probably use one of these over in on the very south side of the layout, kind of to act as a view block. And if you remind me, I'll show you maybe a little bit later where I'm thinking I'm going to use this and why I think it's important to have a view block in that area. Excuse me as I drop things and throw things around. And again, as I said, since I'm buying stuff, I might as well buy more stuff that I don't need. So I bought Ford Fairlanes, I bought some Ford trucks, and I bought a Ford Explorer SUV. The SUV and the trucks are technically too late model for my layout, but I don't know. I don't care. It's my layout. I'm starting to collect little details, and I'm starting to collect like figures and just little tiny things that can kind of go anywhere on the layout. And yeah, so I had the opportunity. I got some items as well. See, look, even James is buying things he doesn't need. I'm just kidding. How can 14 of us not use fouling points? It could be, well, 14% of people do use fouling points. I would guess the reason for that, and we'll talk more about that later, is because only 14% of the people might actually do operations or do operations with other people. You think I need a VW bus? I do have I like when people like call stuff out. I always think it's funny when I can like run over to the shelves and like pull something out. So I do have this guy, which I don't know if you can kind of see. This is one of the Oxford vehicles, and it is it's a red VW bus. Let's actually see if I do this. There we go. So, yep, I do have a red VW bus. So for those of you that think I need one, there you go. This just reiterates, being able to pull that out just reiterates how much of a problem I really have. Maybe that was an O scale. No, that was N scale. Yeah, Dwight, I agree. I'm also not a big fan that the Oxford stuff is actually 1/150th as opposed to 1/160th. So it does look big on the layout, but you know, you do what you have to do. Let's before I get into that. So I was watching They Make It Like That. He did 2 streams recently where he was doing some graffiti work, and he had a somewhat unique but not really unique spray booth, and it started making me think, you know, if I had a spray booth like that, it would be a good portable spray booth to take around the layout. And I had purchased this spray paint, which I thought would be a good kind of base color for the track. I don't know that it's really going to look like that. I don't know what it's going to look like. I haven't actually sprayed this yet, but combine colors to blend with terrain, right? So I figured this would be a good spray for the track, but I wasn't sure how I was going to spray it in the room. And then They Make It Like That was doing his stream, and he had a spray booth that looked just like this. How is he like this? So what he did is, you know, he had it on his bench, and he would just put his items inside it and spray it. And I thought, maybe I can just, you know, I could just sit this on top of the tracks and break out the spray paint and just spray in here and then move it along down the tracks. So I think that I might do that. I think maybe for the base layer. So Alan says it's going to look like the cap. Now I thought, my understanding is it sprays out multiple colors. It's not a solid color. So I don't think it's going to look like the cap. But I don't know. I mean, we'll find out. So the idea is, though, is this will enable me to just kind of, you know, just for the base coat, I'll probably use my airbrush or just some other like washes and stuff to add additional colors and everything to the track. But just to get down a quick base coat, I thought that will be one color, not multiple. Oh, so it will just be the brown. So it is just this color. So to get the other colors, oh, I see, combine colors. Well, this will make a good base color anyway. You have to buy the beige and the olive drab. Oh, that's a bummer. See, I was wondering, just shows you how dumb I am. I was wondering how in the heck you could get multiple colors of paint out of one can. And what I wondered was, like, do they have some like system inside with like, you know, like 3 different sections in it, and when you spray it, like the sprayer like alternates. I could not figure out. Yeah, exactly. Like three sort of spray. Like I couldn't figure out how this actually worked. But I've seen other model railroaders say that they use this as their base color for weathering their track. So I was like, well, if it's good enough for other people, it's probably good enough for me, but I couldn't figure out how it worked. So now you can see, tonight is all about me talking about things that I don't know anything about. Welcome to my channel. I do have some Krylon as well, but I was at Home Depot and that was cheap. For those of you that want kind of an overall status of the layout, this is my switch machine log. Anywhere where there's an X means that things are done and taken care of. The section that I'm working on right now is, well, these two sections. So this top section here is the North Yard, which is what you're looking at right here. And these 6 down here are Manhattanville, which is behind me. And I'm just going through, you know, one step at a time, just going through, checking off each of the turnouts, one turnout at a time. Yeah, it's a lot of blank squares. Some of it's going to go quickly, some of it's not going to go quickly, but yeah, like, I get people don't like whatever different brands of stuff, but I gotta be honest with you, for what I'm doing with it, like, who cares? That's kind of my thing. I mean, I've got other, you know, I've got these as well, right? Like I got this, this is from AK. I got this from Humbrol. Like these are, you know, professional or whatever you want to call it, you know, colors of spray paint and stuff. So I could use these, but I figured for a base coat, this is called Rust Base Coat, and this one is called Dark Brown. But for a base coat, why not use something cheap? It's a big square. What's a big square? My next blank square is a new home purchase. There you go. Yeah, James, I get that. I don't like using the rattle can stuff inside either, but you know, Liquitex does make some spray paint as well, but very expensive as well. Oh, Liquitex doesn't smell. Even the Liquitex spray paint doesn't smell, or just the Liquitex in the bottle. I am planning for weathering the actual track itself. I do have a bunch of this like Liquitex paint. And I'll probably use some of this this Liquitex here once I get into weathering the track. I've actually been playing with that Liquitex lately. I think I showed these in one of my photos. I have these 2 portals, and I'm going to use these portals on the programming track, and they came as just like the white, what is that stuff called? White plaster. So I just started playing with them. This one I painted with a dark color and then used a wash over it. This one was just a bunch of washes. I'm gonna add a 3rd color to it to make it a little lighter, but we'll see. It looks pretty good over here. I did also paint the little Wile E. Coyote, the little black behind it as well. Do I have to or should I? Yes, I should. Sometimes, you know, I bought them. They are Woodland Scenics N-scale, like brick tunnel portals or something of that nature, but they came from Woodland Scenics. I bought them, I don't know, a long time ago for another layout I was working on. Never ended up using them for that other layout, and got them for this. But the place, if you can't find Liquitex, the place I get it around here is at Blick. You walk into Blick and they just have a wall full of it. So it's very easy to find. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that camouflage is going to work or not. It was cheap. I bought it from Home Depot. And I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just making this up as I go. I've got this whole layout behind me. It's all just an experiment. I don't know what I'm doing. Kind of like fouling points. Should we talk about this? The poll, and for those of you that haven't answered the poll yet, we can kind of talk about what all this stuff means, fouling points and clearance points and stuff. So I didn't know. Let me answer this first. Russ, Blick is an like an art supply store, and it's spelled B-L-I-C-K. It might be, I don't know if it's, I don't think it's just in New York. I do think they have them all over. But yeah, but B-L-I-C-K is Blick. Is it not? Are you guys gonna make me look up Blick? I'll look it up. Oh wait, that's not what I want to do. Let's look it up here. Blick art. Ah yes, it is. So yes, it's dickblick.com. And it's you know, they have all kinds of art stuff. If you want foam core, they have foam core. They have, you know, Blick student grade tempera paints if you want cheap stuff, oils, huge section of Liquitex stuff. But you're talking to Andy, you're talking about the white spray, right? Not just the white in general. But yeah, so apparently it is Dick Blick. If you click dismiss poll, it just removes it. It just makes it, it collapses it. So it's not as big. It just makes it smaller. So yeah, you can click it and no problem. All right, so fouling points real quick. Let's I started going down this road. Let's actually move this over here. Because I didn't know what they were called. I didn't know what I was looking at or what I was doing. But I did know that when I went to a layout to operate on the layout, that they would have their ties marked with some yellow paint. I'm hearing beeping. Oh, I'm getting an error from this thing. All right, so I didn't know why, but I would see like yellow paint marked on the various ties. I didn't know what it was called. I didn't really know what it was. Oh, is it freaking out? It's like saying I'm tilted down too far. Lower the camera and tilt me up so that you can see better. Let's try this. Maybe this will work better. So there you go. Now you can see it. So they would have all these yellow lines. And what I knew them as is what I first kept calling them before I got corrected is I kept calling them collision points, because what I knew they were for is if you brought your rolling stock up together and you crossed the yellow line, I knew they would hit. So if you were ever going to leave something on a track, you needed to make sure you left it behind the yellow line so that something could go past it without hitting it. So I kept calling it the collision point, and I posted a picture and I called it a collision point. And everyone was like, what are you talking about? That's called the fouling point. And then I started looking up fouling point, and I started hearing about something called a clearance point as well. and I kind of started trying to figure out what they were talking about. I don't know specifically what they did in the 1930s. I do know that different railroads did do different things. Different railroads did have different standards, and that different, you know, there's different stuff out there. So two of the places, once I figured out the whole fouling point, clearance point thing, I did go and I posted up online. One of the places I posted was the Around the Layout group. I got some pretty good answers here. Joe Bohannon on the Around the Layout one actually gave me the FRA information. So clearance point is the location near a turnout beyond which is unsafe for passage on an adjacent track, where a person is permitted by a railroad's operating rules to ride the side of a car. A clearance point shall accommodate a person riding the side of the car. So what I thought was interesting about that is that what I'm doing here with the colliding of the cars, it's not really a clearance point because I'm not taking into account a person riding on the side of the cars. But a clearance point could also just be a location where two tracks get too close together. It doesn't necessarily need to be where the cars are going to collide, but where they're going to get close together. So a fouling a track means rolling equipment or non-track maintenance of away equipment is located such that the end of the equipment is between the clearance point and the switch point leading to the track on which the equipment is standing. So again, like my interpretation of this, and this is the FRA rules and whatnot, but what I am actually marking on these turnouts would be the fouling point. It's the location where I need to park this train behind that point so that another train can go by. From the little bit of research that I did, one of the places was Around the Layout. The other place that I posted up was the Second Section podcast. When a line is fouled, it means it's occupied at that point in time, but not all the time. An example of this is when a train will not fit in the siding and is still fouling the main line. In yards or spurs, this can be denoted by a sign or a painted sleeper where switch crews have to place a car beyond the mark or sign as not to foul other tracks. It seems from what I've been reading and what I have kind of ascertained is that a clearance point would likely be marked by a sign, and a fouling point would likely be marked on the tie. And some people have mentioned, depending on the railroad, some painted them yellow, some painted them white, some painted them orange. A lot of the layouts that I go to, I see yellow, so that's just kind of what I went with. Yeah, I painted all of the marks. I just pulled out some yellowish paint that I had. This is yellow ochre from from Vallejo, just some model color yellow ochre. It's a nice yellow color that's not like too bright yellow, but something that kind of is going to it's not too overbearing. It's not like a bright yellow. It looks like it might be weathered a little bit, so I went with that yellow color. But yeah, so I didn't know what I was talking about, so I went to two places Around the Layout and Second Section on Facebook. The other group that I went to, and ochre not okra. Yeah, I don't know. Again, we are going to talk about things I know nothing about. Most clubs have KD uncoupling ramps. I've operated on some layouts where the yellow mark will be a magnetic uncoupling. Yeah, structure, exactly. I've seen the yellow tie marks for several different purposes. I've decided that I am going to use them on my layout to mark the fouling point. So the other reason that I am marking the fouling points on my layout is specifically for operations purposes, in that if a car crosses the yellow tie, it is moving from one block into another block, and it's going to basically then show that next block as occupied, right? So if we go back over here for a second, let's pretend that's not there. If this train here goes past this mark, then it is going to now show that this section of track is occupied. So if, for whatever reason, you need to throw this switch, you will not be able to throw this switch if this car is occupying the block. The only way to throw this switch is you have to take that car, move it behind your fouling point, and then you'll be able to throw that switch. You can't, let's see, if I turn this a little bit this way, I have marked on the ground where I originally thought the fouling points were going to be. And you can see to the left is block 414, to the right is block 504. So I'm going to need to gap the rail. So I marked the fouling points so that I knew where I was going to be, where I was going to need to gap the rail. So I'm going to test things for a little bit, make sure things are in the right place before I gap the rails, but I'll eventually gap the rails. So I was just asked what shirt I am wearing, what's on my shirt. I don't know where's a better place to see it. It is these are switches that you would find on a CTC panel. I actually first saw this shirt because Michelle Kempema was at a t-shirt table and she had this shirt pulled out and she really liked the shirt. And I said, you know what? I really like that shirt too. So I ended up ordering this shirt. This is the first time I'm wearing this shirt. If you follow Michelle Kempema on Facebook, you will notice that Michelle actually is wearing this shirt today as well. I didn't plan that. It just kind of happened, but she inspired me to buy the shirt. So that's what this shirt is. So I kind of like it. Oh, so Dennis apparently has a sign just across the road from his house that is indicating a clearance point of some sort or another. I'm not sure. Oh, it's an HEIC file, so I am not going to be able to share it with everybody. But maybe he'll resend it as a JPEG or something that I'll be able to share. So another place that I want to point out where I go to get information, particularly related to operations. If you are into operations, any level of operations, you really want to check out this this group. This is a groups.io group. It's basically it's like Yahoo Groups, but it's not a Yahoo group. It's now on groups.io. But that is the email group for the OPSIG. So highly recommend OPSIG, opsig.org, $10 a year. Can't beat it. But any time that I have questions about operations-based stuff, this is really the place that I go. You know, people here, they know so much information about this kind of stuff. Like this guy's talking about the railroads in the San Francisco Bay. This guy's talking about what the Pennsylvania Railroad used to do, and just really detailed and good, you know, good information as well. So this is the picture that Dennis just sent. And apparently it's laying on the ground. Dennis, why is it laying on the ground? This would be a cool sign. Warning, structure will not clear man on side of car. So yes, that is definitely, that is a cool image. That's really cool. Not, Dennis, not that I am suggesting this, but you know, if this happened to end up, oh, it's cemented into the ground. I was gonna say, if this happened to end up in your layout room, you know, it looks like it used to be on a pole though. There seems to be like a pole down here on the bottom of it that it used to be mounted on. So it's interesting that it's cemented into the ground. Yeah, he knows. Yeah, don't make us call law enforcement, Dennis. Oh, so it's still attached on the bottom. So it's fallen over, but it's still attached. So like if you had a cordless grinder or a cordless sawzall or something, you could send Gail out there to cut it off and take it home with you, because it's obviously still not in use. But that's a cool sign. So this sign would mark clearance points. Yeah. Dennis, don't get yourself thrown in jail. I've heard about some of the people that work in those type of facilities. Yeah, exactly. Grinds quietly. Exactly. I'm an old Casey Neistat fan, and one of Casey's original viral videos was where he went out with an angle grinder and would cut chains off of bicycles right in front of cops, and the cops did absolutely nothing. Yeah, Dennis, that would probably be an awkward conversation. But back to this real quick. Yeah, I mean, the guys in here just really know their stuff. It's just a really great group of people to ask different questions about operations, and if you need help on here as well, if you're into other model railroad stuff, there's a lot of different groups as well. There's an NCE group, there's a Proto Throttle group, who else? Well, Loc Sound group, JMRI group. So I would check out groups.io if you ever have questions. I mean, don't get me wrong, the second section guys or the around the layout guys are also really great. In a lot of cases, you know, things overlap. That's true, Dennis. There is as well the layout command control group here as well. There's just, you know, general DCC groups. What else is here? A T-Track group, a TCS group. You know, all different kinds of groups and stuff on here, which is it's good. I think it's good to be able to, you know, connect with people through different mediums. If you want to talk to Dennis, go over to the layout command control group and post up, and I'm sure Dennis would be happy to talk to you. Should we try and find Dennis's latest question on the group? See if it was a good question or not. I'm just kidding. I use the JMRI group all the time. I do not know how to program. I will go on the JMRI group and say, like, I'm trying to do, you know, X, Y, and Z. How do I do it? And people will send me, you know, scripts and stuff on how to do it and how to make it happen. Sometimes they explain it as if you should understand things that I don't understand, but you know, it's good. I did see your comment earlier. Joey said the way you can tell where the clearance point is it's where the blood is all over the ties. This comment here seems to be following along in a similar vein as his earlier comment. So outside of what I've already discussed, that's kind of where I'm at on the layout. I did a bit of a layout tour last week, so I think most people have a good sense of what is going on with the layout. So I don't know if people have any questions. We can open it up for questions. Let me go back actually and end the poll. So clearance points. So the question on my poll was, do you use fouling points or clearance points on your model railroad layout? 12% said they use fouling points, 15% clearance points, 8% said they don't use either, and it was a conscious choice to not use either, and 65% of people said, I never thought about it. I do think that the poll might be skewed by the fact that my guess is that not everybody operates the same style of operations. Meaning that, like, some people like to rail fan their layout, and they like, you know, running trains on their layout, but more for rail fanning. And some people might do a different kind of operation, so they might not use it. So I do think the poll might have been a little skewed, but yeah, you can definitely use whatever you want. As Andy knows, model railroad operators are very svelte and very skinny, so the clearance areas around model railroad operators is I'm sure something that is easy to identify, but that is one thing. It's interesting you mentioned that, because that is one thing when you are planning a layout for operations and you are setting up trains. That's something you have to think about. Like, you cannot run, I can't run two trains and have two trains come to the yard at the same time, because then you have two operators standing on top of each other at the same yard. So even with 36-inch aisles, part of developing an op scheme on your layout is making sure that there is room for your operators to operate. Yeah, so Dwight, the fouling point is the line in which, if the car is over the fouling point, it will get hit by a passing train. So it depends, Mike. If the railroad is a CTC railroad and they are in an area with block detection, then yes, the dispatcher will know. For example, I gave the example over here that the way I'm going to set this up is this track that this train is on right here is going to be one detection zone. And then on the other side of the track over here is another detection zone. So the dispatcher, if this car rolls over that fouling point, the dispatcher on the dispatcher's panel will see this area will turn red. So they will know there is a train occupying this area. Once the dispatcher then knows that, they know they cannot send another train past it, and they know that they cannot throw the turnouts, because the train could be over the turnout, and if they threw the turnout while the car was over there, they would derail the car. In model railroading, I am going to say yes, I am going to gap at the foul points. I believe in real railroading, the fouling point is 50 feet or some distance, some set distance in front of the fouling point. So let's go back to this example again. So if the fouling point is here, can I zoom out? There we go. If the fouling point is here, the gap might not be until like up a little further. So they might not be in the same place. But for the sake of my model railroad, because everything's so small, I am going to I'm gonna put them in the same place. Yes, the passing train will know if it hits the other train. And yes, Russ, I know that some model railroaders are of the rounder than taller kind for some people, but you know, it's kind of the thing. Not all of my foul points, I guess, will be gapped. They will only be gapped where there is a different detection zone. But yes, for the most part, everywhere it will be gapped. Should I explain this? So I showed a picture, I think it was on Facebook, where I had mounted my Proto Throttle to a tripod stand. So this was the first step, is I am gluing the tripod mount to the plastic case that the Proto Throttle goes into. And this is going to give me the ability, I can now then mount this basically anywhere you could, you know, clamp a mount or put a mount on a stand or anything like that. I will be able to put this on that, and I can show you what it's going to look like when it's finished. So this is the Proto Throttle with the plate already mounted on it, and you can see it's just glued to the back. I actually put gaffer's tape on it and then put glued the plate right to the back, and it gives me the ability to just, you know, take a stand. It's too tight. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this holding this. Something tells me this will be a bad idea. There we go, that works. So take the stand and the Proto Throttle can just clamp to it. And then you can obviously tilt this. And then you can move it around. So anywhere you want to operate on the layout, you can just kind of move it around with you, and then you could use it one-handed and pay attention to stuff. So yeah, I'm putting it on my monopods. So this is just the monopod base on a monopod. That way, you know, it doesn't get in the way. I do have the ankle weights on the bottom. You can kind of make that out. You can see there's these ankle weights here, so that gives it a little extra weight on the bottom so that if you do bump into it, it will not fall down. But yeah, I mean, that's, I didn't like, you know, when you're trying to hold the throttle and do stuff and whatnot, this really makes it a, you know, a control stand type of thing. So I am enjoying that. Yeah, I don't have a 1968 Atlas mic stand, but that will definitely do the job. Do the job as well. These are actually modified Proto Throttles, slightly modified. The case is not as deep as the standard Proto Throttle case. This is the thinner case, and I did that. William Sampson, Sueline, has some great videos on how to modify them, and he actually cut down the cases for me so that I could modify them and then screw them together. Still does have the hook. You can still, you know, hook it on and hang it off your neck. Here's what I don't like. I get it. I know a lot of people do it. Yeah, I think I did do a live stream on it. Modifying this one, I think I put it together on the live stream. So here's my issue with throttles hanging off of your neck. On my layout, where everything is basically on one level and it's at chest height, to reach things you don't have to bend down. But if you're working a layout where you potentially have to bend down to get to a lower level, or let's say there are some deeper sections of the layout and you need to kind of bend in and reach over, when I have the throttles hanging on my neck, I am constantly, like, they swing out into the layout or they hit the edge of the layout or something like that. So it works. I will sometimes do it, not very often. I actually have this vest, and I feel like such a dork when I wear this vest. But one of the things that I really like about this vest is it's got this pocket right here. And this pocket is huge, where you can just throw the throttle in the pocket. And depending on the throttle that you're using, it's very easy to turn the throttle off. So like I use the TCS UWT50 a lot. So I'll just, menu 9 turns it off. So I'll just turn it off and throw it in my pocket, do whatever I need to do, pick it up, turn it back on, good to go. So I like that for just being able to, to do that with it. I'm wondering if the ankle weights were supplied by the county. I don't think so. I don't know. Clip or some kind on the shoulder strap would be cool. Something where it doesn't swing out when you lean over. One other thing that I do have, let's see if I can find one real quick. So these are the lanyards I tend to use. And I just bought these off of Amazon. But if you notice, what they have on them right here is a quick clip. So I do like using these as well, because you can, secure this to you in a way that it's, tight and close to the body. And then when you need to get your throttle farther away from the body, you can disconnect it. Because when I'm using this, right, and if I need to like reach out for something and I've got the throttle in my hand, you can only go so far because the throttle's attached to this. So then you're kind of like limited to, I'm picky about stuff. I mean, it's just kind of the way I am. Yeah, you could do the Captain Morgan pose. That is true. Dennis, I have never taken my Proto Throttle with me. My intention is to use my Proto Throttle here, have one set up for each of the yard operators. The people whose Proto Throttles that I use on their layout, they're generally already paired for a specific set of locomotives as well. One other thing I did learn that's kind of fun is if you are using the TCS throttles, they do actually fit. Let's back this up. They do actually fit pretty well in a car card slot. So you can just, and actually both of them, both styles just fit right in a car card carrier as well. So if you're planning on using car cards, you could always just leave one there. Yeah, so if I used a bungee, exactly what would happen is I would stretch it out to grab something, I would let go of it, and it would come back and it would smack me in my head. I'm thinking like the clips police use. Oh, the ones like that kind of extend out or whatever. They are, Russ, they are not cheap, but how awesome is it to, run a railroad with a somewhat prototypical style, operating tool or whatever, right? I mean, yes, it's not it's not like every real train doesn't have this same interface, but I really like using this because of the separate brake, right? So here's your throttle and then here's your brake. So you can kind of get the train moving, let it idle, and then you would use your, your brake to actually stop it. So I like that functionality of it. Some people do, some people don't. I do. I really like the, I like this style throttle as well. Works pretty well for me. It's easy to travel with. It's nice and small, but it's fun. Do I have a label on the back with my name? No. But you are also not invited over to my layout anytime soon, especially knowing that you're about to go out with a grinder and cut a railroad sign down, and or that you are looking to abscond with my proto throttle. You will not be invited. So layout is going pretty well. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I know there's Steam prototype versions out. I'm not sure what's happening with a production release or not, but so layout's going well. I'm going to continue working on the turnouts and updating my my little spreadsheet here to get all the turnouts running. The other thing that I'm working on is, if anybody knows Operations Pro really well, I would be interested in some help just kind of getting an initial operations scheme kind of going for the layout. I want to start figuring out how to move trains around the layout, because I want to make sure that I get everything well tested before I really start doing any scenery. I know everybody says start small. I've already got so many. Yeah, I know that's the way you should do it. You should start small. But I think a lot of you know me well enough now to know that starting small and making things simple aren't necessarily, in my body of knowledge. They're not how I operate. I don't know. Check us out. NERX is on Monday, the 18th. I will be hosting a conversation on layouts in small spaces. You can see up here, it's nerx.org. If you want more information, it'll be on the NMRA's YouTube channel Monday night, also on their Facebook channel. Come join us. Come join the conversation. From the city that never sleeps, farewell, model citizens.
It's all about humanity.